Hello and welcome to another conversation. I'm Judith Leblein. Have you toyed with the idea of looking for love on the internet? Well, before you start to search for that one true love, you want to pay attention to today's show. The Ultimate Guide to Dating 911. It's Internet Dating Safety. And the most unlikely of authors, it's retired police chief Dennis Nagy here from Central Jersey. Thank you so much for joining us,
I'm happy
Dennis.
to be here.
How does a police chief wind up writing a book about internet dating?
Well, I try to keep current. I mean, even when I was on a police department, technology was kind of like my bailiwick, and I know that relationships are a big component of police work because we're always doing domestic violence and things like that. And the two of them kind of just converged when I happened to be going through my midlife crisis, and I was in a divorce myself, and I said, you know, I'm not going to go to a bar to meet people. And a funny anecdotal story, I read one of these pamphlets someone gave me about, like, you know, how to meet women.
How to meet someone. Mm-hmm.
So I'm in a bookstore, and it's like, oh, well, find the subject that you're kind of interested in, and you'll meet someone who's like you. So I'm there with this lady, and she's very nice, and we're talking about the books. And I'm just going to say, you want to have dinner? And then some guy comes over, puts his arm on her shoulder, and says, okay, honey, let's go. It was obviously her husband. I said, could have been very embarrassing for me. So I decided to venture onto the internet, and being the police officer that I was, I used to keep a lot of notes. And some of the dates were good dates, and some of the dates were not so good dates, and I made copious notes on every one. And I was trying to figure out, like, you know, what am I doing wrong here? What am I doing right? And eventually I had a pile of these different, you know, emails, internet, instant messages, and my own personal notes, and little cards back and forth, and I took the files and distilled them into a book.
Well, that's terrific, and it's a guideline for internet dating safety. So you're not against finding love on the internet?
No, definitely not. I met my wife on the internet.
You did?
Yes.
Wow. And how long did it take from when you met on the internet until you married?
About 2 years.
2 years of
Yeah.
a romance. And what was she long distance? Did you find her at a New
No.
Jersey internet site?
As luck would have it, she wrote to me first. And she saw that I was from, I just put Middlesex County, Central Jersey, and she was from Middlesex County. And she was from South County, I was from North County, and she kind of tried to scare me a little bit because we shared some information. And if you read the book, I kind of try to play down waiting too long, because the anticipation is what really kills it for you. I mean, if you're communicating with someone by internet, you start to ask questions, but you build a mental construct, and in your mind you start to think that, you know, this person is someone that they never really could be. It's like if I were writing to you, you know, you're a newscaster, I'm thinking, oh, it's Katie Couric, and, you know.
You start getting a visual.
Yeah. And then when you show up, you could be a wonderful, tremendous person, but you're not the person I thought you would be.
But I'm not Katie Couric.
So Diane and I, we exchanged some information, and we exchanged phone numbers, and she tried to scare me away. She said, you know, my father's a police captain. And I said, oh, he is? I said, well, I'm a chief. And then instantly we kind of bonded because, you know, we both had the police background.
But that's very telling, because although she had struck up a relationship with you through the internet, it sounds like she was cautioning you and trying to put her feelers out. Again, another reason for a book like this, to know, gee, how do I now meet someone? So you found love, you got married.
Yep.
And things are going well?
Going great.
And is she mentioned in this book?
Oh, yeah, in the acknowledgments.
Of course she would.
She edited everything.
Well, let's get down to some basics. Now, the book is unusual for a couple of reasons. There aren't many books out there for people who want to go on the internet and find love.
It's the only one.
It's the only
The only one.
And it's positive and saying, go ahead and do it. But it's talking turkey about how to be safe, because things could be dangerous.
Most of the books on dating, dating for dummies, dating for you, whatever, they have a chapter or maybe a couple of paragraphs on meeting on the internet. And they're kind of like cutesy, like with the little smiley faces and, you know, how to make a little personal ad, but they're not precautionary at all. And they certainly don't address it as something to be wary of. That's half of the book. I got to say probably half of the book, 50% is good news, and 50% is watch out for. And those are the red flags that I want you to be aware of, because it's just like we're here in Central Jersey. It's a suburban community. You wouldn't walk into Times Square and just pick the first person you see and say, let's go on a date. They may look good, they may sound good, but when you start digging down, it could be anyone.
Well, when you think about it, the internet is millions of people.
Billions.
Billions all over the world.
Absolutely.
Perfect strangers.
For the most
And
part, yeah.
So in one sense, the chances of meeting someone, the odds must be astronomical. And at the same time, quite possible. And I've heard a lot of success stories.
I liken it, I use the metaphor, you're like a kid in a candy store. Because when you just take the population of the United States and you cut it in half, it's almost the amount of eligible people out there to date. There's literally 50 to 60 million people out there that are single, that are looking, that are divorced, widowed, whatever. And more every day, thousands are going on the internet. But you're getting psychos out there too. The internet is a community. It's a world in itself. And you have to be prepared for what's out in that world.
So just because it's electronic doesn't mean you should romance it and glorify it, because there are con men, there are people looking to take advantage, there are people that perhaps aren't even single.
Well, I took out one chapter. It's the unpublished chapter. It was the history of the internet. Because I went way back to when it was just a blue screen, and every letter you typed, you'd see it go across the screen. And back then, the only people that were on the internet were intellectuals, college students, research
It's all
people,
about
police.
science. Mm-hmm.
So you were safe. I mean, if you communicated with someone, and if it, in my case, if it happened to be a female.
Government. Created for the government.
If it happened to be a female and she was single and we were passing some notes back and forth, I knew she was okay. It was almost automatic. And some of that has carried through. Now, doing some talks that I do, I went to a divorce support group, and there were a lot of older people, widows, widowers, and they just think it's grand. Just get a computer and I'm going to meet Mr. Right, Miss Right, the perfect person, because in order for them to be on a computer, they must be all right. And that's their thinking.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's
And that's kind of one of the proponents. When I was going through my divorce, I met a lot of these people, and I used to talk and I say, don't be crazy. Just because they have a computer, that doesn't mean that they're okay. And they look at me like, kind of like, what are you talking about? And then I identify that, I'm from a police background, and they would say, oh, really? I say, yeah, you got to be cautious, like anything else. It's like leaving the door to your home open.
Well, I believe strongly in the power of words, and
Mm-hmm.
people have fallen in love from writing letters.
Absolutely.
People that never met, that are pen pals, have fallen in love and married. So it's no different electronically to be able to do it on the internet. But being able to do it safely is the real message in the book. Interesting part of the book, being a former police officer or former chief in your case, each chapter has police notes.
Yeah.
To try to make it more concise and give you some safety tips. And stuff.
It's kind of like an index in itself, in as much as if you read the book and then there's something you had to remember, and you're kind of coming back to a point, you just go through the notes and that's it. There it is right there.
Now, dating on the internet is, I guess it's the electronic version of the old want ads. That you
Personal
said,
ads, yeah.
The personal ads. You say, I'm looking, and you describe yourself. Now, give us some of the rules on the internet when it comes to the physical part of it, the physical attraction. Do you recommend only communicating with people that will share a photo?
I kind of do, yeah. From the safety point alone, it's very important, because let's set up the hypothetical that I was going to meet you, and I don't know if you're a psycho or a very nice person.
Well,
but
some people think both.
If I have a picture of you,
Mm-hmm.
I know when you come through the door if it's you or not. But more importantly, I give a copy of the picture to someone who's important to me and say, look, if something happens to me, this is the person that I left with.
Right.
So on the internet, you can give a phony name, you could give phony address, you could give phony everything, but the picture's the picture. And if the person who shows up is the same one on the picture, at least we know what you look like.
And, this can backfire on both men and women. I mean, someone could communicate with you, Dennis Nagy, as if you were talking to a woman and say, meet me at a parking lot somewhere, and it turns out it's a band of con men that take you for your wallet.
It happens more often than not. You know,
You're
more
sitting
than,
there with a bouquet of flowers and a bottle of wine, and along come 3 thugs, and you've lost your wallet in your car.
Sure.
So that's possible. So
It's
one of the
definitely
first
possible.
safety issues would be communicates and see a picture or have some sort of ID before you
Absolutely.
ever think about meeting someone. Let's talk about the idea of physical attraction.
Okay, I do a whole chapter in the book on chemistry, and chemistry is important. It's like
Sure
one
is.
of the deal makers or breakers. And again, I constructed the chapters in such a way that you have chemistry, you have expectation, you have the personal ad, and they all kind of work together towards the exciting conclusion that you put all these steps together and you can do it if you'd like. You could find success on the internet. But chemistry is important. And as we mentioned previously, if you have this preconceived notion as to what someone's supposed to look like, and they don't, it's always laced with disappointment. I do a little story in there. It's an anecdotal story about the girl says her name is Sandra. Well, naturally, I'm thinking Sandra Bullock. But when she shows up, it's Sandra Bernhard. You know, not what I
Luckily,
expected.
it's not Sandra Day O'Connor.
Okay, it's, you know, not what I expected. But you need the chemistry. That's important.
Yeah, yeah.
But the chemistry section is distinctly different than the personal ad section. Because a lot of times in the personal ad, people put in what they want. And
Oh, everyone's
It's
fun
like-
to know, great to go on walks.
walks on along
Oh,
the
yeah.
beach and everything, love dinners and theater.
Who doesn't?
But what I suggest is that you put on, you make a top 10 list. This is what's important to me. Honesty, employed, okay?
Teeth.
Yes, exactly. So you put this
Speaks
top
English.
10 list together, and then you distill that down, because by the time you actually find a few people that you're dating with, you've changed it 4 or 5 times. All of a sudden, this doesn't become as important as another thing. Some people are hard and fast on smoking. Absolutely
Absolutely.
will not date a smoker. Now, you know, I'm not saying for you to concede or to trade off, but if the guy is the perfect guy, he's successful,
Maybe
he's
you could
wonderful,
work on the smoking.
you know, hey, he
Maybe.
goes outside and he
Maybe.
smokes, you know?
Maybe. Well, there's another issue on the internet that comes up. There's looks, there's smoking and health,
Mm-hmm.
and there's also weight and size. Should you be honest about that?
Well, you should be honest from the start if you're looking for a relationship. And again, the book draws some serious parallels between people who are players and people who are looking for a relationship.
How can you tell? What are the signs? Because, you know, I don't want to turn any of our viewers off. There are fabulous people that just don't want to do the bars. They're new to a community. They're new to a
Absolutely.
state. They're feeling isolated. So late at night, they get on the net, and they really are sincere. And then you have your, as you call them,
Players.
players, and then you have assorted idiots, and then you have your con men and dangerous folk.
Yes.
So give us, come on now, you're former police chief. Give us some clues.
Well, one of the clues that I put in the book, especially, is as soon as you start having a conversation with someone, if they say to you right out, "Are you a player?" Well, they're kind of tipping their hand, because if I'm not thinking that you're going to be a thief, I'm not going to say to you, "Well, Judith, you know, before I have this."
Are you a
this-
thief?
Oh yeah. So they kind of tip their hand in the beginning.
So
Some
they're
of them
looking
do.
for fun. They're purely
Yeah.
the fun and games guys. Okay.
And again, they'll make some sexual innuendos. You know, they're not looking for relationships. And more importantly, they're going to talk a lot about themselves instead of talking about you.
Okay, so they're not asking questions. They get sexual too fast. Another thing to say, red flag. Give me a
Exactly.
couple more red flags.
Well, any red flag would be if they're asking for too much personal information.
Want to know how much you make? Those things early
Or if
on,
they're being too
bad signs.
superficial, if they keep pressing you for a photo and pressing you. If they're too insisting, well, then I would say back off, because they're not willing to take the time to invest in you. And if you're looking for a relationship with someone, what's the rush?
Good point. If you're just joining us, we're talking dating on the internet, the ultimate guide to dating 911. It's internet dating safety with retired police chief Dennis Nagy, whose career here in Central Jersey is well known by many of you, and now a new career helping people stay safe on the internet. Give us another story here about someone that has had success on the internet dating. We know that you did.
Yeah, well, I certainly did. I have a whole bunch of examples from my own personal experience with people that I've stayed friends with. Now, that's
And
the
that's
other
a great
aspect.
possibility,
Exactly.
isn't it? Even if you wind up finding a tennis partner, it's been time well spent.
Well, it's about dating. The book's about dating, but it's real. Dating is meeting people.
Right.
Like, for all intents and purposes, we're having a conversational date right now. But there's handicapped people, there's senior citizens, there's shut-ins, there's people that want to meet people and have relationships, and they just can't because of whatever physical circumstance or financial or whatever the case may be. But there are always people willing to prey on those people as well.
Yeah.
And that's why it's very important. But there's hundreds, there's thousands of stories of success, as well as there's stories of danger.
Now, for someone that's really new to this, Dennis, there seem to be so many sites. That's my biggest gripe with the internet, is that there are so many sites and so much information. How do you find a site that's right for you? Are there any signs of a good, I don't want to say wholesome, but authorized or backed site? Maybe through a newspaper perhaps would have more legitimacy. Maybe through a church organization might have more legitimacy. Any
You're talking
thoughts
about like
that?
an internet dating site?
Internet dating sites.
Well,
There's so many of them.
I don't personally recommend any, but Match.com is one of the bigger ones. It's owned by AOL. And you do want a choice. You know, I mean, you want variety. You want to be able to look at what's out there. The second consideration is how much are you willing to spend?
Oh, I didn't realize there were costs. Tell me about that.
Well, when I was dating, Match.com was, I think, $19 a month.
Okay.
And it was unlimited contacts. And basically what that means is you can go out, you could scan their personal ads and send out emails to people on the service. But there's no pretension that they investigate these people. There's no assurance that they're real people.
No pre-qualifications.
You could spend $3,500, on the other hand, and sign up with a service that's going to take a videotape of you, and from the convenience of your home, look at videotapes of other people, and they've been fully investigated.
And it still could go wrong.
It could definitely go wrong.
Okay.
I don't personally recommend the high-priced services because being a policeman, I'm suspect that they may be filming some models. Because when you go in to get the sales pitch, they show you all these wonderful-looking people. They're all movie stars.
Right.
And now when you go on and you want to contact the Sandra Bullocks and the, Clint Eastwoods or whomever, Ben Afflecks, and you contact
He's available
them.
now.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if he's on the internet, though. But when you contact these people, they're unavailable. And the only people you find that are available are people that you didn't see in the sales pitch.
Yeah. Well, there's money to be made in trying to fix broken hearts, and that's where people are preyed upon. What other information do you think is very helpful that will they'll bring people to dating 911?
Well, what I think is important is for people just to kind of take the work that I did and get into kind of my mind like a cop. Is the person who you want that you want to date, do they just have a cell phone? Can you call them at work?
Okay.
Can you call them at odd hours? Like if you're entering into a relationship with someone, it doesn't give you the license to call them at 2 in the morning, but
Right.
if you're dating
But
them
if
and
they
you get to
say,
know them,
only call me from 6 to 8,
Exactly.
that
What's
might
wrong
be
with
when
this
they
picture?
tell their wife they're at the gym.
exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
Okay. It really does sound like a common sense guide for any kind of dating. These are all the things that we should keep
Absolutely.
in mind. But I think the eyes get starry. People that are lonely, they've heard so many success stories on the internet that they believe what people are writing. Are we a generation that believes because it's written, it's real?
Well, we're a generation that's now entering the no spin zone, and I try to tell you what's spin and what's not spin. But I'm competing with the cosmetic companies, the soft drink companies, everyone that's out there with sex sells.
Right.
And, it's sexy to be on a personal ad and have your best picture and everything, and you think that this is Mr. or Miss Wonderful, and they aren't, because they may not have even written the ad. It could have been done by another person.
Do you know, I had an instance in my life. I travel a great deal for business and lecturing around the country, and I sat next to a young woman on a Northwest flight, and we were stuck on the runway, as often happens in Detroit in the middle of winter. And I struck up a conversation with her. I looked at her, sweet young thing from the Midwest, She had a single rose, and she was dressed up beautifully, made up, and I could see she kept looking at her watch, and she was
Right.
worried about the delay. And I turned to her and I said, "You're going on an internet date, aren't you?" And her eyes opened up. She said, "How did you know?" I said, "You're looking at your watch.
And you got a rose.
You have a single rose, and you're dressed to kill."
Right.
I said, "Do you know this person?" And she said, "Oh, yes." I said, "Do you know what he looks like?" And she said, "No, he said that photos weren't necessary, that he'd be wearing khakis and a
That's a
pink
red
shirt
flag.
or whatever."
Sure.
And she's going on and on. Now, the mama in me comes out, and I'm thinking, here's a 20-year-old on her way to Newark, New Jersey, stormy weather. Should she arrive at that airport and this guy is a lech or leaves her there, what will she do?
Sure.
So I asked her, "Do you have any money? Do you have any cash on you in case it falls apart?" "Oh, we're in love. He said that looks didn't matter." I said, "He doesn't know what you look like?" And she said, "No, I told him I'd be wearing this blue shirt."
And have the rose.
And I'm thinking, oh my God. Well, sure enough, Dennis, we get to the airport. It's shut down, the airport. People are sleeping on the floor. It's one of those winter snowstorms in Newark. There's no room to be had. And I said to the young lady, "Listen, when you see him, if you like him, I'm going to stand behind you. You give me a thumbs up. If you see him and you feel uncomfortable in any way, you give me a thumbs down."
Mm-hmm.
We get there, he's nowhere to be found. So now I'm standing there with her. I don't know this young lady. I'm in Newark Airport. It's near midnight. She's calling the number she had for him. He's not answering. And I'm thinking, this is fishy. So I start to page him in the airport. I stood where she should have been. I held her rose. And now I'm thinking guiltfully that he saw me, got a load of me, and off he went, you know. But it turns out, long story short, she had nowhere to go. He did not pick her up. I believe he saw her and
And it
didn't
wasn't
want
what
her.
he expected.
And he left her.
Sure.
She's left now in Newark Airport, no money. And now the police chief and you is going to say a no. But I took her home.
Right.
She had nowhere to go and no money. I had a stranger in my home, but I thought this could be my little sister.
Absolutely.
And I took her in. The next day I pleaded with Continental Airlines. I fed her, and they said, "Okay, listen, we'll get the kid home," because she had to change her ticket. It turns out that he tried to turn it all on her, and the poor thing cried all day long at my home. And I hear this, but as you picked up, so many red flags. But she was starry-eyed in love. It could have been worse.
It always happens.
It could have been more dangerous.
I have a line in there, don't let your emotions rule your reason, because it happens all the time. Another line that I put in here probably a half a dozen times, it gets kind of repetitive, is if it could happen to me, if it could happen to me, it could happen to you.
So you had a few.
I had a lot of disappointment. I mean, people just, they're not honest.
Yeah.
Not everyone,
Yeah.
but I didn't
Well, who said dating was going to be honest?
But I didn't expect it in my personal world.
Right.
You expect it when you put your blue suit on and you,
Yeah, you
put
put
your
on
hat
that
on, you
badge.
put the gun on, you figure, all right, I'm going to meet some
Right.
con men today.
Right.
But when you're going out to dinner with someone who's wonderful,
Right.
they're writing all these great words to you, and they're extolling the benefits of, how wonderful it will be to be with a police officer, and I look up to them, and then when you get there and you look across the table and you say, this is not the person that wrote these words. It's
Right.
not.
Right. So it's dating 911, internet dating safety. Chief Nagy, any response from having the numbers 911 on
Well,
the book?
I always kid around whenever I see that it's 9/11, like that time.
Yes.
I always kid around. I have two daughters. I say, look, there's Daddy's telephone number.
Yeah.
So I kind of identify with
It's an
911.
emergency number. It's 911.
It's if you need the cops, it's 911.
Right.
And if you want to go on a date, I would ask you, would you rather have a police chief with you or a Boy Scout? So it's call the cops.
Now, Chief Nagy, is there another book in your future?
Definitely. I'm working on Teen 911 as we speak. This book is good for if you're a parent and you have a teenager who's on the internet. It's good for that. But this one's going to be specifically written to teens. And it's going to talk about homework helpers and research sites and things like that. But the undertone is also going to be careful with who you communicate with, because they are very, very innocent.
Well,
and I'm not only talking teens. I mean, my 10-year-old is on the internet talking, chatting with people.
Yeah, and we've heard so many stories.
Yes, too many.
Here in Central Jersey about kids lured to the internet. And thank goodness there are law enforcement people like yourself that have figured out that the internet, with as much positive information that you can gain from it, what an avenue it is for con men and people that, pursue children and are not honest. And so thank goodness there are people like yourself and people in law enforcement that are keeping it reliable, because there's so many possibilities.
I look at this as an extension of my police career, because if I put out 100 books or 100,000, if it saves someone's life, I'll never know. I may never know.
Well, I'm out of the dating market. Where were you when I needed you?
What can I tell you?
You're going to be valuable to a lot of folks, Chief. It's Chief Dennis Nagy. It's his book, The Ultimate Guide to Dating 911, Internet Dating Safety. Chief, I thank you.
Thank you for having me on.
And as always, it's nice to have a good conversation. I'm Judith.